Yeah, and like I just said, the research, the investigation, and everything, like they're doing, I think it's awesome. So you can get more knowledge of your own diagnosis. What is one thing you want people to know about your disability or diagnosis?
Hmm. I guess one thing I would say that I would want people to know is I feel like there's this very big assumption that, and it kind of goes off of even the whole thing with Global Genes Foundation. I feel like there's this big assumption that I would want a cure instantly. Like if it was offered to me, if someone, if a scientist or a doctor came up to me and was like, here, I have this magical pill. All you have to do is take it, and tomorrow morning you're going to wake up and you're going to be fixed or you're going to be cured. Which for me personally, I'm happy with my life and I feel like I don't need to be fixed. I'm not someone or something that needs to be changed personally, is what I feel
Mm-hmm.
like. In the sense that sometimes the world can view not only me, but just disabled people in general. Um, so basically, I would basically deny that magical cure that this doctor would be offering me. I would say, no, I don't want it. Give it to the next person if they want it, but I don't want it. It gives me a different perspective on life, honestly. Um, and without my disability, I really wouldn't have any, I wouldn't have found all these passions I have in my life. I wouldn't have had all these different experiences because if I was non-disabled my entire life, I don't know what my life would be, honestly.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
would not be like this though, and
You
I
don't
wouldn't
know
want to lose
another
that.
life
That's for
without
sure.
your disability.
Exactly. And I wouldn't want to lose that life. You know what I mean?
Yeah. What is a misconception people have of your disability?
A very big misconception is that, well, I kind of mentioned this, but one is that there's something wrong with me. And the second thing is that a lot of people will either talk down to me or talk to like other, like say to like my friend or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
or a family member or something when I'm sitting right there next to them, they feel the need that they can't speak to me.
Yeah.
Um, so little things like that, but I feel like it needs to be explained more that whether I had a neurological condition or not, or a developmental disability or anything like that, it doesn't mean I should be ignored. And I don't have one. So even more so of a reason. But regardless, I feel like I should not be ignored. I shouldn't be spoken over, or that you need to speak to someone else to ask me a question. Like I've been at restaurants sometimes and a waiter or waitress will talk to, I don't know, my mom or my brother or whoever, and will say, oh, what does she want to eat? And I'll look at them like, hello, I'm here too. Like, I can tell you what I want to eat. Trust me, I'm a foodie. I can tell you what I want. So
Yeah.
a lot of times things like that have happened.
Sometimes they see us like they don't see us like persons, they see us like when it's somebody 24/7.
Right. Exactly.
If you receive negativity about your disability in public, how do you deal with it?
Um, I always try to both educate and kind of correct the negativity,
Mm-hmm.
depending on like who it is. Like if it's a little kid or something, obviously I will adjust the terminology and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, I would always educate and try and correct the situation as best as possible. I've had instances where I've had people stare at me in grocery stores and things like that. Um, I've
Yeah,
heard
that
like,
always happens.
right. So I've heard a lot of times I've heard like a child in like say like a shopping cart or something like that say to their mom or their dad, "Mommy, what's wrong with that girl? Why is she like that?" And the parent automatically like shuts the child down and says, "No, no, no, don't say that," or "Shh, that's mean. Don't talk about them like that," or just walks away basically and just moves away as fast as possible.
Mm-hmm.
But meanwhile, instead, you could educate your child and say, well, first of all, there's nothing wrong with her. She just uses a wheelchair to get around. One time I experienced that in a Target actually. Um, and it was this little girl with her mom. She kept saying, "Mommy, what's wrong with her? Mommy, what's wrong with her?" And she would not stop asking. She was very adamant. So I actually went up to them and I was like, "Can I?" I was like, "I promise you, I wasn't like eavesdropping or anything. I was like, I just heard her say that. I was like, do you mind if I explain? And the mother immediately was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry she said that. Please don't be offended. I'm like, no, I'm not offended. I promise. I just, if it's okay with you, would I be able to explain to her so she knows for the future, so she knows that there's nothing wrong with me? And so she's like, okay, yeah, sure. So I talked to the little girl, and the little girl had glasses, and I explained to her, I go, the same way you wear glasses, to help you see, I use a wheelchair to help me get around. And she kind of understood it. So I said to her at the end, I go, do you have any questions for me? And she goes, I have just one question. So I go, okay, what? She goes, what's your favorite color? Just, it was like a normal thing to her. She didn't care
Aww,
anymore. She's like, okay, I'm good with
cutie.
this. It's like, my favorite color is purple. And she's like, okay. And she's like, my favorite color is pink. And then the mom was just like sitting there laughing. And I was like, okay. I was like, have a nice day. I was like, thank you for letting me explain. And she's like, yeah, like the mom didn't even know what to say, I think. So it was a really cool moment because the kid kind of was just like, it was normal to her. She didn't mind it after that.
Yeah, kids like they had a little like they have a different mind as they just you just answer their questions and then it's like okay.
Yeah, they're fine with it. So it kind of just, the negativity is gone at that point. You just have to try and, you know, educate people to say like, hey, this is not a negative thing. Just gotta, yeah, that's it.
Yeah. How do you feel society treats disabled people?
Um, feel like society treats disabled people kind of like an afterthought. Even in terms of accessibility of places. Like, yes, there are places that are more accessible than others, but
Hmm.
sometimes even the ones that are more accessible, it still feels kind of like an afterthought, or like that they have to do it because it's like legally required of them. Um, which I feel like if so, I'm trying to think how to explain it. Like, say like someone was building a restaurant,
Hmm.
and they plan out their restaurant the way that they wanted to. They don't put into consideration disabilities and accessibility in that
Yeah.
point. Then after they draw up their plans of however they want their pretty restaurant to look, then they consider, oh, okay, now legally we have to make it accessible and we need to follow the ADA and all this stuff. And
Hmm.
then they make these little adjustments to make it legally accessible. That's honestly how I feel. But obviously there could be different situations. I'm not going to say every situation is like that because that's absolutely not true. Um, but yeah, I feel like there are certain situations where it's kind of an afterthought that it's like, oh, okay, now after we have what we want, now we can do it for people who are disabled. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, like they don't give you accessibility until law requires them to do it. And they don't because they sometimes they don't see the need until you put that into notice.
Right. Or even in television, it's the same thing. Like in TV and movies. When do you see a disabled person just living their life like normal? Usually you see a disabled person when it's relevant to the story, or their character is relevant to the story, and then that character becomes disabled or something like that. You
Yeah,
never see really disabled people in media just living a normal life.
yeah,
I don't live my life as, oh, I'm a disabled person. Like, yes, I'm proud of my disability, but I don't live my life saying I'm only here on this earth because I'm disabled. Like, no, that's not how that works. So why isn't that the case in television and stuff like that? Like, we're supposed to be like, not supposed to, but the way our society is, we reflect how we see media, basically. We reflect our own personal lives the way that media works, I feel like. So if a disabled person is not seen in media as just a person, basically, I feel like it can create, this very negative um like perspective for a disabled person, even to say like, well, if I don't belong in that world, why am I in this world? Which is completely not true, because disabled people do belong in the world.
yeah, yeah. Until we
You
don't
know what I mean?
until people don't see that disabled people we belong in this world, I think there's things are not gonna change.
Right.
Why do you think it's important to raise awareness for people with or without disability?
I feel like it's important because um every human being, whether you're disabled or not, or no matter your age or your gender or your race or anything, you deserve to be treated equally to every single other person in this world. So I feel like awareness needs to be raised to understand that no matter what your differences are, whether they're visible or invisible or whatever, that you deserve to be treated equally to every single other person in this world when it comes to like your own basic human rights, basically, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally makes sense. It's like respect. Like everybody
Right.
deserves there's
Exactly.
the same respect and the same responsibilities and stuff. So that we are so that we can be equal.
Right. Exactly.
What's one thing people can learn and benefit from disabled people?
I don't know. I guess that they would be able to learn this is a little bit of a repeat from the previous question, but just like that, they can learn that everyone deserves to be treated equally. I know I said that already in the previous question, but that's just it's the truth. That's really all it is. That's my answer. I don't have much of another answer because that's the truth of the world in general. Just everyone really needs to be treated equally with the same human respect and just the same rights, I guess.
Yeah, everyone we have the same rights as other people.
Exactly.